Hi everybody, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be part 7 of the dual slot furnace. Didn't plan to do as many episodes for this, but I figure we do one more and then we'll call it done, because after this there is not much more to add to it that I can't cover in this episode. Now, the main purpose of this is we're going to add sound effects and a little bit more visuals to the furnace. Mainly more reactionary visuals to interact with what's going on in the furnace. So if we, for example, actually are cooking items, we want to maybe put some sparks coming off the front to give it the idea that there is actually some life in the furnace. Maybe we want to trigger some actions when we put fuel and take out, which we probably won't actually do, but we could do that. The thing we're going to do probably is do the sounds. I know a vanilla furnace doesn't really have sounds. I actually went through the furnace and looked at it because I couldn't remember if it had one or not. And the only place I know that the furnace actually does anything is random display tick, and that's about it, because it doesn't seem to really do anything else. There's like no checks on any activated or anything like that. What we could do is like on block activated, we could spark some stuff out of it. So like when you open up the GUI, you could have some sparks come out. That would be more for other players to look at because you would never see them in first person mode. We do need to fix the icon. I almost completely forgot about that. That's something that needs to be done. But we'll hit the sound up first. So I was looking for sounds. The only sound I can really think of is doing maybe a lava pop sound. There's not a lot of audio effects that actually do exist. So if you go audio effects, we hit this, we can actually see a lot of them that exist. And I kind of like the newer version of Minecraft because there's actually an enum of sounds now. There's random fizz. We could do that one. Now let's try random fizz and let's see what it sounds like. I'm gonna have to turn off the background music when we do this, just because we won't be able to hear it. And what we want to do is we're gonna come down in here, and we're gonna do this in the client area here. Well, actually, that's not where the client area is. Actually, I think it is client area. Yep, else statement client. Come down here. We just want to go if world.random next float is greater than 0.4, for example. It gives us some kind of a random going on. We'll just grab this stuff as well, and we're just going to play it from the center of the tile. So let's get rid of all of this junk, and we'll just go X, Y, Z. We do want to change its volume a little bit. This is what this part over here is for. This controls its pitch, which gives you a bit of a random on the pitch. It is very important when you do audio effects to randomize some component of the volume or pitch. It depends on how you want to do it. There's like 1,000 ways to actually end up doing this. I miscopied that, did I? I only wanted to replace this part. Here we go. So the reason for randomizing is if you have a bunch of sounds around you that sound identical, it's lackluster, it's boring. It doesn't sound very good. So you want to kind of contribute towards that. We probably will lower the default pitch of this, and I'll toy around with it here in a second. So get in game, and let's go ahead and kill the audio in the background. Oh, I can hear again. I don't know how loud that sounds for you guys, but I have these around ear headphones, which are really cheap, but they have really powerful drivers in them, and they are loud. From occasionally, time to time, I think the microphone picks them up. I haven't actually sat and checked, but I think it actually does happen. I'm really hopeful that the noise suppression built into what we're working on probably does what it needs to do. Okay. You know, that will work. It's a little too often. It's too loud. We want it to be backgroundish. Let's try. That's not what we want. Okay, so this controls the pitch. We don't want to mess with that too much, but we don't want to drop the volume here. It still happens too often. So what I think we need to do is do like a ticks%20 equals 0. So we want to make sure that it'll only happen every 20 ticks, and then we'll randomize it from then on. Still too loud. And this is just mainly my perspective on it being loud, but here we'll help you guys out a little bit too. My volume's at 10%. Now, it's how loud that sounds. At least it sounds loud to me. Yeah, nah. doesn't quite fit. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out, and we're going to play around with different audio in Minecraft until we find something that sounds just about right. What I'm looking for is a crackle of fire. So if we put lava down, I'll come here, and cringeworthy audio. I gotta turn my audio down. I hope you guys, it's not too bad for you guys. I turned it down too low. So what we're listening to for this is that lava pop. Yeah, that won't work. That's what I was originally going to go with. But that's not going to be the right audio. Let's get a lighter here. You know, it's never occurred to me. I don't think fire has a sound. Yeah, putting my volume up really, really high, and I need like a really nice adjustment, like a preset system. Because when I mess with my volume on my, no, it does have a sound. Hold on. There it is. So that's what I'm looking for. So let's go find block fire. I knew it had a sound. Just couldn't remember what it was. Now we have to actually sit here and probably look for this because it's probably not where we think it is. Block added, random display tick, smoke, 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 more smoke, large smoke, large smoke. Do Control F, sound, play. No, there doesn't seem to, like we can hear it. We definitely know it's there. But at the same time, the trigger's not. Like there's a spawn particle trigger. Ah, here it is. It's called fire. We do need to start catching these like sound files because I'm tired of looking for them every time I want to find them. But that'll work. And actually, hold on. Let me not get rid of that. So I'm gonna put this in here. I'm gonna grab this guy, and we're gonna keep him because we're gonna play around with the sound a little bit more. But this is what I'm looking for. So I think this is a more consistent sound effect. What this does is if next ends 24. So if we do 24 here as well, and we're just gonna play this every 24 ticks. Shoot, let me make sure I grab the sound settings or this is going to get annoying if I don't do the sound right. So it does one volume and it does have a volume modifier as well as a random. And we're going to store our random, so we're going to go random rand equals world.unwrap.random. There's a high likelihood I'm going to start storing a random instance in tiles and nodes because I have a tendency to use it a lot. I don't really like RNG for doing calculations and stuff, so like if I'm trying to say, okay, what kind of loot you get or something, I actually prefer not to even use RNG for that. I actually like to use it for sound effects and stuff, entity effects. And look at that. So that sounds nice. And I don't remember if this guy has like a sound effect at all. Hold on, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel this out. I want to see if the furnace itself has a sound effect and I just missed it in the code. Of course, we're going to need something to cook here. You know, that would be an amazing mod if somebody could edit the furnace to play sound effects when it's running. And it would be a real easy mod to do. Search the world, look for any furnace. If furnace is running, start counting a tick up, and every 24 play a fire effect. It would be literally that easy. This might be a mod I might put on my to-do list here later, because it's not too difficult. Actually, you know what? I'm even more curious. So we got the ICT one. I did a video here earlier where I was talking about different design aspects. I'm not going to release that video. It didn't turn very well. It wasn't scripted, and I'll figure it out later. But I was talking about different design aspects of what I thought was realism versus magic is where the discussion came up, and everything else. But we'll do another video of that later. But it looks like that furnace doesn't have a sound effect either. So ours does, and it does sound kind of nice. I do want to drop the volume down just a tad bit. I like quieter audio because my ears are more sensitive than most people's. So I can hear sounds a lot better than most people can. So like this sound may not sound very loud to you. It sounds massively loud to me. But I know from experience that that's what I hear is not what everybody else hears. It's weird to say too, because I got damage to my left ear from a gun exploding next to my head. So, yeah. Ooh. Is there a bug going on here? The cook time is still ticking. Oh yeah, we're not considering when that's done. It doesn't look like the burn time's going down, I don't think. So it looks like our furnace is just stagnated. I'm okay with that, that's okay. So that looks nice. Now we want some effects to come off the front of it. So we got our fire effect. What I also want to do is maybe do a random fist, so like to do call when furnace burns out. So it's nice to have these audio effects. One of the really cool advantages of audio effects most people don't think of, they're not just there for aesthetic reasons. They're not just there because it sounds pretty. They actually give an indication of what's going on in the world too. So when I hear that fire running, I know my furnace is on. If I hear a fizz out noise, I know my furnace just turned on. And what we can do is we can do a lighter click too. So we can go item lighter, item flint. Yeah, item flint still. And it plays a sound effect called fire ignite. And we'll grab this up real quick. So we'll go to do play when furnace turns on. So that gives a nice little cool effect here. And where did we get the fizz from? We got that from... No, we didn't get it from fire. Lock all good. Oh, we're going to actually search for this real quick. Because the reason I'm looking for it is I want to get the audio settings from it real quick. So we didn't get it from there. I'm pretty sure it came from this one. Yep, it came from this one. And these are the audio settings back here. The reason why I'm keeping the audio settings is because the pitch does matter when making audio files. So if you don't get the pitch right, it will sound like a completely different audio file. And it's a really cool thing to think about too, is that you can play two audio files at the same time, change the pitch and volume between them, and you can end up with a different sound effect. It's kind of how music works in the first place, is mixing different sound effects. I've known mods to have taken just the in-game audio and build songs out of them. And they sound legitimately like songs, even though the reality of it is they haven't actually used any unique audio. They just build up a whole system. I kind of want to do something similar in the future. But let's get our effects so I'm not sitting here rambling all day. So we want to spawn particles. We actually, you know what? I'm not going to mess with our smoke because, believe it or not, that works. I want to randomize it, but because of the way it already randomly rises and disperses on its own, it actually works. I want to put maybe... What I want to do is I want to go, okay, if burn timer 1 is greater than 0. So I want to make it, I want to give the impression that if you have 2 items burning, you get twice the joy. So 2 items, twice the smoke. And, hold on. I want to see if particle effects turn off automatically. Yes, they turn off automatically. Okay. That's a really important thing to check your particles. See if them all turned on. I usually leave them all on unless I'm in bedrock level. So now we want some particle effects coming out of the front of this to give us a little bit more life. And do we want to do twice the particles? So we've got 2 times the items. Yeah, might as well. Another thing we probably want to do here is we can come back in here and go later. To do if front blocked turn off animation. So what we might want to do is come down is if like somebody puts a block in front of this. So if they come over here and they're like, I don't want to see the front of this machine. You can't exactly see what's going on. So what you might want to do is if I can't see what is in there, why play the animation at all? there's no point. Of course, we would have to actually do a lot of checks for that too, because you also have a case where if I come in with a hopper actually counts as a solid block, even though it's not a solid block. So if you put this on the front here, you can see what that is. You can see what's in there. Well, actually, no, you couldn't. So if I did that, I can't see what's in there, even though that would technically be correct. Speaking of which, we're going to probably implement hopper support. It's going to work on any side. Or I'll ask the client if he wants hopper support later. So let's get these guys copied out. Let's also do a for loop here. So for int I equals 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus. That way we reduce that code bulk a little bit. We also could put a Boolean statement in here to make the bulk go down even further. And I kind of want to do it just because it would be more proper. So it'd be 0 plus 3. So burn timer 1 is greater than 0. And then you come back in here and you do the same thing, burn timer 2. And then final int smoke per burner is what this would be. You put this here. That way we only really have one little method to work with. And if we want to come back in here, we would put more stuff. We could do it. We do want to do so we do want to have like particles come out the front. We are going to need a direction, so we're going to need to make a pause object. And we'll make a general direction here. So go pause direction equals new pause get direction, and we'll import this real quick because it needs to be imported before we can use it. And then multiply 0.1. We don't want high velocity particles. Now, actually, this is going to be called velocity. Then random. Do we still have a random function? We're going to put this up here. Make that a final so we can't change it by mistake. I doubt we'll ever change that by mistake though. Random 0.1. And then I'll shorten this down to while we're at it, just so that way we're not typing a lot in. vel.x, vel.y, vel.z. And we want, I believe, flame. Let me go through. So block furnace actually does shoot off flames off the front of it. Yep, it is called flame. This is another case where I would really love to have an enum of particles. I think I have one I was working on once upon a time. I don't know how much it is completed, but I probably should look into it, especially considering the 1.12 version of Minecraft has an enum of effects, and in order to be able to fire off those effects, you have to use the enum. They will not let you not use the enum. So this should produce, it is producing particle effects, just we got the height wrong. 0.65, I think. Direction not to get opposite is a thing. Maybe not so much velocity. A lot of velocity. That's also not what I want either. Actually, hold on. Let's do this. I do want more velocity going forward. But as you can clearly tell, that's just flat not working. So maybe instead of doing a velocity, because velocity doesn't seem to be really working in this case, let's do some particles. Okay, so those are just going to pop randomly. And what we actually do, we do want these to kind of float up a little bit. Just a tad bit. Yeah, see how slow this float up? It's not too bad. We want to randomize these guys. So plus rand.nextFloat times 0.3 minus is the same thing. The reason why we do a plus and minus is that way you have a negative to a positive range on your particle spawning. That just looks bad. 2 particles each. The realization has occurred to me that we may be spawning just a tad too many particles on some of these cases. So for this one, we need a random. We just need a flat, just random every single time. Random next float greater than 0.5. It's looking a little better. Let's up that even higher. Because the concept we're looking for is we really just kind of want this to be an addition on top of it and not look like it's meant to be the flame itself. Unfortunately, in this exact case, it's starting to look a little bad. Also some lighting problems. So we need to actually put some lighting on this, and I wonder if we actually have a listener for lighting. And I have this impression that this is probably the answer. It is no. Let's get rid of our velocity. You know, let's also get rid of this, and I'm just going to spawn. We're just going to do like 3 particles, no matter what. We're going to do 1 particle. It doesn't look good. But maybe 1 particle popping up every so often. See, like nice every so often you got a particle that pops open in there. Gives a little bit more life to the fire, and oddly looks better than the fire too, which is weird. I think that will be solved with a quick lighting fix. So what we need to do is we come down here, we need to go to block base real quick, and we need to figure out if it has the ability to do lighting checks. Control Shift, light. I do not see a method for that. So we'll do right quickly super.getLight value. There is a method for it. That is the wrong method though. This is the method we want. It's an odd method too. Block.world.block does not equal this block.getLight level. Or just call it getLight level. So we're going to grab this guy, and we're going to implement him, because there is actually no listener for it. And that means we need a listener in order to code our support. So we're going to bring him down and put him... Doesn't really matter where we throw it, but I want to kind of put it with the rest of the graphics. Oh, it is implemented. Why didn't I find it earlier? Yep, here we go. So you can set a light level in the data, but of course there needs to be a listener in here. So let's go ahead and we're going to copy the top half of this guy. That's how we do our listeners. And we'll go ahead and do that. We have an access, which will work all the same. And we're looking for light. And we will make a interface called light level listener. We will go to the API because that's where we're going to store this. If I can remember where the listeners are. Actually, hold on. Where are you at? Framework block listeners? Looks like I threw the listeners out of the API and threw them somewhere else. That's cool. That's not cool. I gotta go find them. They're here somewhere. Means they're probably in here. And here they are. So it's good they're not exactly in the API because they're not meant to be used as an out-facing API. They are meant to be more of an internal thing. So we want light level listener. This will just be an interface, implements, or rather extends tile listener. And it's an event system is what this really is. It's just a really strange way to look at it. Get listener key. This is still implemented just for reasons. We find that's like a valid way to actually answer that question. And really what I end up using this for half the time is just so I can remember what each of the keys is. Interface method must have a body. Oh wait, I forgot this is supposed to be default. I think you put that right over this too. Just for love. And in here we really just want to call a value default int get light level return -1. -1 is going to be used to just say we don't this is not implemented, and we'll come back over to our block base and right here level listener, which is implemented, and we want to go int level equals next dot get light level, because the only input we have is the location of the tile, which is already injected into the listener every time it runs. This is an iterator, by the way, so it's going to go through all their listeners, and that's the listeners for the block, the tile, anything connected to each of those, and the node itself. If level is greater than equal to 0, and you know, actually what we're also going to do here, instead of returning the first light level we get, we actually are going to cache it. Int light value equals 0. So if level is greater than equal to 0 and level is less than 15, which I think is the max you can do it, anything beyond that is too high. And after that, level is greater than light value, because we want the highest light value to win. Light value equals level. And then at the very bottom, if light value is greater than 0, return light value. And that should do the trick. We are going to have to restart, by the way, for this to function, but while we're at this, we're going to go ahead and implement a few things. So we'll put this on here so we can get our light level. And we'll come in here and grab the default. And we simply just want to say, okay, if the block is on, please just give me some light. Really? I can't override that? Method does not override its superclass. Wait, how did I end up back in here? I'm confused. I'm in the wrong class. It happens. So we want to go 0 by default. And we want to go if is cooking, or cook time is greater than 0. Return 10. Let's do really quickly block furnace. And let's go to that class real quick, and we want to see what its light level is. Does it not have a light level? Pretty sure a furnace produces light. I think it's just maybe defaulted. You know what? I actually remember how this might work. Set light level as a flow. Oh, another times again by 15. So its light level, if we can go back to that. We'll just do this real quick. Try this again. So it looks like a lit furnace is 0.75. Let's actually just copy this part. Go to our calculator. Times 15. So it's roughly 13. We'll go ahead and set it to 13 then. Don't need to be exact, I'd rather be returning integers. So that's what we'll do with light level. And then every time we change states, so if we go from previously cooking to not cooking, we need to change over state. I kind of may want to do this with a boolean. So public boolean is on equals false. Public boolean previous on state equals false. And what we'll do is every time we iterate through, we'll just go, okay, previous on state equals is on. And then we come down, and this is also gives us opportunity when we're down here on the client, is that if previous on state does not equal on state, or is on, and if previous on state, so if it was previously on, then we're going to do the random fizz, then if else, we're going to do the ignite. So this is if it turns on or if it turns off, we play this out. And we shouldn't have a situation where this turns on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. If we do it, somebody else is messing with our tile or we fucked up royally. So that looks good. Additionally, what we also want to do is if we're going to copy this structure real quick. There is a server-side check we also need to do. If previously, or actually if the state changes at all, we need to go and trigger world re-render. So world.unwrap. Mark blocks 30 vertically. This will cause a re-render event. I really just want to I really want to kind of update just this, but we kind of have to do this. And what is this value? I'm not sure how this is used, so we're going to have to check it. Looks like it's really only used by... What do you call it by? I don't really want to run that check. Let's try this one real quick. This one's pretty easy. This you just pop in XY DI. There you go. And that should, in theory, that anytime our previous state runs it, and I don't know why I click reload because it's just going to give me a nice big red arrow down here. We want to fix the icon real quick. So let's go ahead and save this. And how we fix the icon is we come down to the, or rather, we find where we have our piece of content. Go to here, go find our beautiful render object, which doesn't exist. Wow, we really don't have a render object? I guess we'll have to borrow one. So I want to get a really quick render state, and we just need to define a single render state for our furnace. And we'll put that roughly here. We got to make sure the IDs match. And we are planning on just defining a block render state, so just really simple. Do a block. We don't care about the inventory, that's already handled for us. We could actually, in theory, render our tile with this code here, but we don't want to do that. And what we're going to do, instead of defining our own texture, we are going to use a Minecraft texture. And we have to do this in a weird way. I don't have an easy button for textures still. I made some improvements on it, but there's still more work that has to be done. I think it's the texture I want. What we can do is we can really quickly go block. Yeah, we'd have to just go to the block file real quick because it's going to be set down here somewhere. Block cobblestone, set block name stone brick. Is that really what it's called? Set texture name is cobblestone, so it is named properly. I just don't know if this part's set up right. What was the last thing I actually built in here that would use the newer textures? Here we go. Yeah, it looks right. So that should, in theory, define that for that, and it shouldn't mess anything else up. This will go ahead and launch. That deals with setting up our light level, which we just need to re-trigger. Like, the only thing I can think of will mess with light level is this might not re-trigger the light level updates. If that doesn't do that, we'll have to mess with it. I know ways to make it work. And then we can do this down here while we wait. So we can do a play sound call. By the way, the true false at the end of this is to delay the sound by distance right here. So if you hit true, it'll delay the sound. If not, it'll play it instantly. I don't think it does anything with volume though. So if you guys are like, oh wait, can we use that for volume? I don't think it works that way. So we'll do the random fizz here. Then we need to copy this piece of code, and we'll have to play with it a little bit. That'll work. Then duplicate that down here. Then copy this piece and put that right there. And that should sound good. We'll test it though. And in the future, it would be good to actually put here, instead of actually playing the sound directly, we could put trigger events in here for the JSON. And then in the JSON itself, you would define what sound plays. So that way, if somebody wanted to come in here later after I was completely done with this work and they wanted to change this to something that sounded nicer, or they wanted to play with the audio levels a little bit, they could do it on their own. And I can set up code for that. It already exists. All the guns are built that way. They're all built with sound events because I don't want to play the sound directly in the weapon. And instead, I trigger an event, which will then display the graphics and the audio. So like every time you like reload, you unload your weapon, you fire the weapon. Actually, the fire of the weapon is 2 events. It has one for the ray trace version, and it has one for the projectile version. So you can actually have different behaviors depending on how you want to do things. That mainly affects graphics though, not actual audio. Now we just wait for it to load. So far so good though. I mean, it's definitely processed the render, so we haven't crashed at that point. So we should, when we do the break animation, we should no longer see wool textures pop out. And that'll be the first thing we'll test real quick. We forgot to do the logic for is on though. I just realized that. Yep, there we go. Cobblestone. Worked pretty easy. Go ahead and put a furnace back there now for testing. Time set night. Make sure it's dark out so I can see light level. And let's go fix the logic. So in order to do the is on state, we're really just going to come down here and go is on equals true. Because if it's doing something, if it's calculating some recipe, it's on. And then is off on equals false. Down here. And we have some kind of light emitting from it. Let's compare it to this guy over here. There's that stupid bug again. That is a vanilla bug. And it's a weird one too. Oh well, that gives us a chance to work on inventory support. Now inventory support is going to be implemented by pretty much by default for us. It's just the only thing we have to do is we're going to come up to here, go here, and we want these two methods. These are provided by the external inventory system that actually handles all the inventory code for us. And the only thing we have to do is just say, okay, if we put these in here, I can then accept certain items. You tell it like what items you can accept and what slots they go in. There's a more advanced version I am working on currently that will actually ask, where do I put this item? And you just simply say, okay, there's no location to put it. Instead of saying, I can accept these items, it asks, where does it go? And I like that version better because then I'm not checking per slot. I check just the item globally. And there'll be a version of that that'll be even nicer. And is this already implemented? Oh, I already implemented it. We didn't have to do that. So right down here it is. So this actually does already do the check for us. If it's input slots, it does that. If it's fuel slots, I just remembered we did this in a previous episode. And yeah, there's marks to cache this. So go ahead and debug Minecraft. And we'll go stare at our logic code here to figure out why it wasn't working. Mark range for render update. Could do a neighbor block change. Oh, it's mark block for update. That's how you actually do it. So let's change it to that. Because I like that method nice. It's a little nicer. So that should do the trick then. So that should maybe do a relight of the chunk. Furnace does it by simply just changing it to a different block entirely, which we don't want to do. If we have to, we could try to save the state and then flip it. And I don't think it'll redo the tile entity. It'll try to keep it consistent, I think. Yeah, we're going to come all the way to the bottom here. Put is on down here. And I'm going to come all the way. And then we'll do is on equals cook time greater than 0. Because I think there's a client side problem with that where it is updating light level server side, I think. And then we'll leave the stuff down here too. That way it'll trip it over if it needs to be. Let's go ahead and clean some of the spaces up here. I guess I could turn the music back on. I just realized that we're not toying with things anymore. And I was like, why does this sound so boring that I'm sitting here coding? Forgot about the music. That's better. I heard it turn on. I mean, we're getting some light here. Go ahead and break this guy. Yep, so it's producing light, so it looks good. Just not as much light as I thought it was going to produce. We just heard something turn off. So I'm going to call that good. Oh well, it's ticking repeatedly. You know, it's kind of unintentional, but I like it. I'm gonna leave that. Although I need to actually fix this part, but let's take a look at this, see if we can figure out what's wrong with it in a short period of time. Has recipe. Yeah, it's just as simple as wherever the has recipe check is. We'll do the check real quick here. And this would be inventory modular. We're going to recycle the input field here. This would be output slot 2. It means I'm going to actually rename this to item. And so just so it doesn't get confusing when reading it. So what we do is go if item equals null or if item doesn't equal null. Nah, we really can't. Let me undo my change here. We want that there. I need another item stack here because I need to keep track of the input, whatever it is. Output. So what we do is we're going to go if output equals null or inventory utility dot stacks match. We need the output for the recipe too. That's recipe slot 2. So if it says we have a recipe, so if like basically input slot isn't null, then item stack result equals that, so we get a result. And then we want to go okay if result doesn't equal null. I'm actually going to change how the logic works here because I'm not liking how it works at all. So input stack. Our input doesn't equal null. And what we're going to do at the beginning here is we're just going to go has slot equals has slot 1 equals false. That way we set them both to false at the same time. So what we want to do is we're going to go reset. And now we're back down to here. So if we have an input doesn't equal null, if we have a result doesn't equal null. And what we want to do is, okay, if output matches result, and inventory utility dot room left in slot this would be get inventory output and then output slot 2, and we make sure this is actually output slot 2, and we want to do this is greater than equal to result dot stack size, and this needs to be done this way. What's messed up here? Not a statement? What? Okay, that works. Or not. Oh wait, we have an extra equal there. That's why it's not working. So this should work. What this will do is this will essentially say, okay, if you don't have enough space left in that slot, then we don't have a recipe. So we effectively can't do anything until you're done. And that'll prevent it from queuing over. So I should stop hearing it run. Yep. Arrow's no longer progressing. Is there any spot where the burn time actually ticks down? Burn timer greater than 0. Burn timer minus minus. Something I may have never noticed is that we never set the burn timer up. I could have swore it worked though. Yeah, it's okay, it's kicking now. So once this kicks down all the way, we'll see this turn off and we'll hear the clicking noise for it turning off. So we can confirm it's actually going to turn off. There we go. I didn't hear the pop noise. And what we're going to change up here is either cook time is greater than there, or burn timer 1 is greater than 0, or burn timer 2 is greater than 0. So if any of those three values are value, then our machine's on. If not, then it turns off. And what we're also going to do, because I really liked how that sounded, is I want to have this random fizz play every single time this runs. This is a site, yeah, we can call this on both sides. I was just making sure. So, process slot though is called. It's called server side. So effectively what I want to do is just play this down here. That's what I want to do. I have my own random method somewhere. That's why I kind of want to start using, because then I don't have to keep calling world. So we play this here, but I think what I need to do is run it through my world. Play audio. What do you want from play audio? You want a key, 3 doubles and a float, which is what you have. Oh no, wait, that's right. I got the I had the key switch with my stuff, and then we don't care about booleans, apparently. So we'll have to see how this works. This should trigger a packet to send to the client to play the audio every time our thing ticks over, which is kind of nice. We may change what this is, change to a pop or a click or something. So we'll test to see how this works in a second. So I'm going to pull these out. So I heard the click of it turn on. We should hear a pop every time it plays. Why isn't this other slot turning off? You broke something. We are hearing the audio vent, kind of. I think. We're not hearing that fizz, we're hearing an ignite sound. Which doesn't make any sense. Because at some point, basically, previous state was it turned off. Which doesn't make sense, because the only way for it to be in an off state is these 3 checks to turn to zeros, which shouldn't happen. But yeah, let's go check to see what happened to our has recipe 2 check. Ah, this is what happened. We screwed up a few values here. Yep, there we go. Should fix it. There we go, they're both running now. Oddly at different burn rates. Which is kind of cool, it shows you that things are working. I think we're good. So I'm going to call that it for this episode, and I'll see you guys next time.